What I like to start with is everybody sort of their foray into Aspen. In other words, when you came here as a nobody and you just heard of it and you did the journey, the pilgrimage to Aspen, can you describe that story?
Yeah, Andy, my story, I suspect, is a little different than most people's. I just fell into it. I got a job. It wasn't like okay, long story. I was working on my PhD at Vanderbilt University in Nashville, Tennessee. I failed my oral exams, passed my written, failed my oral. I was kind of running out of money, in fact, because I was on the GI Bill. And I couldn't find a job. I had an MA plus 30. And I don't know if you know this, but in education, the more education you have, the more you get paid. Right. So like an MA plus 30 would be paid probably, I don't know, back in the day, $1,000 more than a BA, right?
Yeah.
So one, I was expensive. And two, I don't know if you know this, but athletes can major in history. Because it's easy to major in history. All you do is take your book, read the book on the bus, write a paper in your class, in your motel room, and you don't have to do any labs. You don't have to practice speaking with the teacher in French or Spanish. So it's a really easy major for athletes. And every time I would apply for a job, they'd say, "Well, you're kind of expensive, and what do you coach?" And I'd say, "Nothing. I didn't coach. I never played high school or college sports in my life. Nothing. I'd only skied like once at Copper Mountain, man. I was the biggest klutz there lived, okay?" And so I was desperate. I had two kids, David and Rob, as you well know. I had to move out of my student apartment. I was really like, God, we're screwed. What am I going to do? And my sister Diana, who lives in Denver, lives in Cherry Creek.
Yeah.
She has a condo in Upper Brown Copper, and she said, "Oh, I know this guy who is a principal at Rifle Elementary School, and he is looking for somebody to teach an alternative high school for $3,500 a year." Okay, well, that was not a lot of money even back in 1975. Okay. At first, I wanted to move to the mountains. I had been in the Army Ranger School, and I really liked the mountains. It's up in Dahlonega, Georgia. Chris might even know where that is. And Rocky Mountain High. Everybody wanted to move to Denver and Colorado, and it was in Rifle. And I said, I want to live in the mountains. My sister Diana said, "Oh man, it's the mountains." It was Rifle, but still, it's close, right?
Yeah.
So I went there, got the job. I had a Volkswagen camper, just like Tom Crum.
Yeah.
I took my Volkswagen camper, slept in it while Diane, my first wife, and Rob and David stayed back until I could find us a place to live in Nashville. I found us a place to live, and I taught for a year at night, teaching this alternative high school, like 2 or 3 nights a week, 3 nights a week. It's really cool, Andy, because the people, the kids, the students, they weren't really kids. They were a lot of them were women who got pregnant in high school, and they were kicked out.
Oh.
The guy got to graduate, of course, but
right.
You're punished. You're out. So about 5 or 6 of them. I had about maybe 15 people in this class school, and they wanted to graduate when their children graduated. Their kids were graduating from Rifle High School or wherever they were going.
Yeah.
And these women wanted to graduate with their kids. I thought that was so cool,
Yeah.
So anyway, we got along great. I did all kinds of stuff. I taught them everything, history. It's like an elementary school teacher, math, And, it was basically like they were going to get their degree. That was going to happen. All they had to do was jump through the hoops. We were going to make sure they got these 30-year-old women are going to get their degree, and everybody's going to be happy. And they did. 100% graduation rate, right? Everybody's happy. So I went into Rifle and I said, okay, how about I get a job here teaching in Rifle High School? They were really nice. I don't want to in any way diss Rifle. They were great. But they said, we don't have an opening. Now, one of the things that you might be interested in, since this is about the olden days, there's Chris's online. One of the things about the olden days was that a lot of people went into teaching men. Now, you guys all know how crummy teaching pay is. It was really crummy back in the 60s and 70s because it was women's work, right?
Right.
But teachers in many states got exempted from the draft. Remember, this is when the war's going on, the Vietnam War. So all these guys thought, shit, all I have to do is teach history or English or something really like that for 3 or 4 years. The war ends, I can get on with my life.
Right.
Okay, so I couldn't find a job in rifle. I couldn't really find a job anywhere, and I had sent my resume everywhere. And Aspen called me up and said, "Hey, we have an opening. Do you want to interview?" I said, "Oh, well, yeah, duh." So I went up and interviewed, and I got the job. And that was in 1976. I moved to Rifle in 75, and I moved to Aspen. Well, I taught in Aspen in 76. I lived in Carbondale the first 2 years.
Oh, wow.
Okay, and then I commuted 2-lane road, and moved to Carbondale and drove up. My kids, David and Rob, went to school in Carbondale, and Diane commuted down to Newcastle, or Parachute, as it was called back then. Newcastle is what it was called back then. And so she would go that way, I'd go this way, and David and Rob would run around like middle school kids, out of control. But you can imagine that wasn't too good, right?
Yeah.
Well, then Aspen built employee housing, Midland Park. And it was the first employee housing in Aspen. In fact, and David and Rob drew the names out of bowl to see who got what. And they drew our name. And we got a condo in Midland Park. And this is interesting because you guys know how hard it is to live in Aspen. They couldn't even fill them up the first drawing.
Really?
People thought, we don't want any employee out. I don't know. And so, but we got a place in Midland Park. We moved up to Aspen in 1978, and there you go. And I was there in 2003.
Where's Midland Park? I thought that was Basalt. Am I wrong?
No. Midland Park is base of Smuggler Mountain.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Kind of like by cemetery.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
that's exactly right.
Yeah, you literally go right up the road.
That direction. Go ahead, Andy. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, you literally go right past his front door, right onto the dirt road, up to the upper Smuggler mine dumps.
Yeah, we see the kids going by to their parties up there. I'd wave at them as they go by.
Didn't know any of those kids.
Rob would say, "See you, Dad."
I think that's where my brother lives now. Is right in that area.
Okay, Jim. Yeah.
Well, I think doesn't Griff live in your old?
Oh, he's my next door neighbor.
Yeah.
Griff's my next door neighbor. Yeah. Yeah.
And Jennifer Bloomquist lives next door, right across on the units, right across from where you are.
She wasn't there when I was there, of course, but cool. Good for her.
Yeah. I know. It's interesting, sort of the whole shifting around.